Maxine Bernier is just like Justin Trudeau. Both of them have expressed support for Quebec separatism. Both of them would have a hard time, would need a map to find Portage or Winkler. Both of them said they admire China's dictatorship. Both of them want free trade with China. Both of them support legalizing hard drugs. Both of them supported woke policies. We are the only common sense party that has a chance to win. And there's one more thing that Trudeau and Bernier have in common. If you vote for either of them, you'll end up with a Liberal government.
That was Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre in Manitoba today ahead of a highly anticipated federal by-election for former interim Conservative leader Candice Bergen's Portage-Lisgar riding that she vacated in February. Poilievre's former Tory colleague turned leader of the People's Party, Maxime Bernier, is now running for that seat. Bernier fired back today, saying on Twitter, in part, that Pierre Poilievre's comments only demonstrate how terrified he really is about having a true Conservative opponent here in Portage-Lisgar. Reminder, another Manitoba seat is up for grabs June 19th in the late Liberal Minister Jim Carr's Winnipeg riding, and there will also be federal by-elections that day in Ontario and Quebec, notably former Liberal Minister Marc Garneau's vacant Montreal seat. And in the 2021 election, the People's Party came in second to the Conservatives in Portage-Lisgar with more than 21% of the riding's ballots. So how serious is this by-election battle for Poilievre? Let's take this to our panel of strategists. Greg McCachran has advised politicians at all three levels of government and worked on the communications team for 2 national election campaigns. Greg leans Liberal. Fred Delorey is the former Director of Political Operations for Prime Minister Stephen Harper and was the 2021 Conservative National Campaign Manager. He is now a managing partner with Delorey Public Affairs. And Anne McGrath is National Director of the NDP. Hello and welcome to Power Play. Happy Friday. I'm going to start with you, Fred, because that is a very particular riding. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a very conservative riding. It is the heartland of the Conservative Party. Candice Bergen used to get over 80% of the vote in that election, which is an incredible vote tally. But in the last election, the PPC did get over 20%. They have eaten our vote. And we've seen it across the country where in certain ridings, they've eaten our vote. And that's a big reason why Pierre Poilievre's slogan, bring it home, it's about bringing that vote home as well, that right-wing conservative vote that we may have lost. Some say we've lost, I would say as National Campaign Manager last election, we lost 4 or 5 seats because of the PPC last election. Some have said that we've lost up to 20-some seats, which is a big problem that the party needs to address. So that's why Poilievre is going to go all out in this campaign, and he needs to crush, he needs to absolutely vanquish Bernier, destroy his party, keep him low, so that we could just move on from this PPC thing. But if Bernier gets over 20%, that's a problem for us in that he continues to exist and continue to gain momentum across the country. What we're seeing there, this is a social conservative riding as well. It's a big factor there. And Mr. Bernier has come out saying that, he's going to ban abortion. He wants to introduce, he's brought that on the table. I don't remember a federal leader of any merit saying anything that aggressive before. And we're seeing the Conservative candidate has come out and said he's going to fight the liberal culture of death and that he's pro-life. He's not talking about abortion. He's talking about assisted suicide. But they're playing these dog whistle politics to try to fight for that vote.
So that's actually interesting, the battle in this riding, because depending on how Maxime Bernier does, that could be a problem for Mr. Poilievre elsewhere as well. What are you looking at in that riding, in that battle?
Well, for one thing, I mean, it's been clear from the beginning of this that the spotlight, the media spotlight for sure, is going to be on this riding. There's lots of interest in the other ridings as well, but this is the one that I think that's going to capture a lot of interest because of the showdown between Bernier and Poilievre. From the beginning, Mr. Poilievre's strategy seems to be to get that vote back that Fred was talking about, and I think that that's what he's doing for sure. I found it interesting to listen to his comments today and think, how do you so directly and viscerally attack Bernier, your opponent, and still hope to get his supporters? it seems to be a bit at odds, right? Like, so you go after Bernier and attack him in a very, very direct and kind of vicious way in a lot of, absolutely, on policies that they both actually share. He's attacking him for things that he has actually in the past supported as well. But he's attacking him and trying to get his supporters at the same time. Seems a little bit at odds. I will point out that he said that he didn't think that Mr. Trudeau or Mr. Bernier knew where Portage-Lisgar was or had ever been in the riding. I will point out that Jagmeet Singh was the only party leader actually in the riding today in Portage-Lisgar.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, he said that. But also, Greg, he said other things. He said that Bernier is like Trudeau. He supports separatists. Okay, that's new to me. Supports woke policies. He's trying to say a vote for Maxime Bernier is a bit of a vote. You'll get a liberal government. Is that a bit of a stretch?
It's crazy pants. So Paul, the producer, sent me the quote. I thought it was a joke. I mean,
No, we heard him at the beginning.
Yeah, no. But when I got it by email earlier today, I hate to agree with Max Bernier, but when he said, that Poilievre is obviously rattled, he is. I mean, again, I play my game. Who is this message for? Poilievre said that both Max Bernier and Justin Trudeau wanted free trade with China. Hold on a second. Poilievre and Bernier were in the cabinet of Stephen Harper, who also wanted free trade with China. Everybody did back in the early 2010s. Nova Scotia, my home province, still doing lots of business in terms of lobster. So again, it doesn't ring true. If you have to make your case when you're saying crazy things like that, they do seem a bit rattled. I think Liberals in terms of Manitoba and Oxford, the former Conservative MP Dave McKenzie supporting the Liberal candidate. I would encourage people to check out some tweets. I think Liberals are making popcorn about those ones. I think, it looks good probably in Montreal. Winnipeg, they need to hold because Liberals have done well across Canada in the cities. But this is really, really strange. And I think Poilievre, you kind of wonder this week who he's getting advice from. He did a really ugly slur in the House of Commons. I noticed that he didn't repeat it elsewhere, and he had kind of toned down the next day in question period. And this statement today, I think to myself, who is this aimed at? Who believes this?
So, let me ask you that: Who believes that Bernier is the same as Justin Trudeau? That seem to be quite, they seem to be quite different to me. Just saying. But would this be Maxime Bernier's swan song? If he loses this, if he can't win this particular riding, then what?
It should be, and not even win. Like, for him, he needs to get over 20% of the vote, I think, is a win for him.
Better than last time.
He's not going to win this riding. The Conservatives are winning this riding. There's no question in my mind. Bernier will not win the riding. If he gets over 20%, though, he gets to show that his party is still viable. They still have a following. Last election, a lot of their stuff came from the anti-vaccine messaging. Yes. Monsieur Poilievre has eaten that vote, though. He's come out as he supported the trucker convoy. Yeah. He's eating that vote back.
Yeah, they both supported that. There's more in common with Poilievre and Bernier than there is with Bernier and Trudeau. It's just.
Right. So what Mr. Poilievre is saying, though, if that vote doesn't come home to the Conservative Party, if it stays in the PPC, that far-right, more extreme vote, then we're vote splitting and allowing the Liberals to win. That's where he's coming from on that.
With Bernier in his own riding of Beauce, his dad held that riding and ran as an independent when Kim Campbell wouldn't let him run for the party, and he won it. Bernier could not win it as an independent, and his vote totals actually in his home riding is decreasing.
What are you, I mean, it's kind of interesting what Bernier is trying to do. So if he gets more than 20%, so he does a better showing than in 2021, is he likely to split the Conservative vote anywhere else, out west mostly, probably?
Yes, I mean, I think Fred is right. He did it in the last campaign, and that is why this is going to be such a pitched battle. Like, this is probably, I mean, this is still early. I think we're going to see a lot worse over the next, we've got a while to go before E-Day for those by-elections. We're going to see a lot worse. I think they were both right at each other. And as I said before, what I don't understand about that strategy is, so for instance, if Poilievre says that Bernier is woke, And Poilievre says, and a lot of people think that that's around things like women's rights and LGBTQ rights and so forth. And then Poilievre says he supports those rights. He says he supports women's right to choose, says he opposes lots of the anti-LGBTQ stuff that's going on, all of those things. Then what exactly woke policies is he talking about? So it's all of it is very coded and very directed. And I think that this absolutely is a test case for the Poilievre message.